Imagine walking into a massive, just raging college party. You've got the loud music vibrating through the floorboards. The drinks are flowing. Everyone's laughing.
Right, just totally letting off steam.
Yes, celebrating surviving this brutally tough year. It's like the ultimate picture of carefree youth. But for you, the third person sitting here with us, imagine the room is just spinning.
Because you aren't really there. Mentally, I mean.
Exactly. Not because of the drinks, but because you literally just came back from a war zone. You spent your summer watching your friends die in this horrifying battle, and now you have to just stand in this crowded room.
Holding a red plastic cup and pretending everything is completely normal.
It's wild, and that jarring, disorienting disconnect is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to our deep dive into the source material, and we are so glad you are here joining the conversation.
It is so great to have you with us for this one. Today's mission is a microscopic look at Chapter 5 of Iron Flame.
Yes, and we've pulled from a whole stack of sources for this, like chapter summaries, character wikis, and some really dedicated fan timeline analyses.
Because Chapter 5 is a massive pivot for the story. We are transitioning out of the bloody aftermath of the Battle of Versailles and stepping into, well, a terrifying new reality.
The weapons are completely changing. Like, we're moving from physical combat with swords and dragons into psychological warfare. It's all about intense, suffocating administrative control now.
Which is such a brilliant structural move by the author. The battlefield is no longer a distant outpost. It is the bureaucracy of the Basgiath War College itself.
Right. So we open the chapter with the Second Wing cadets, and they are raucously celebrating. I mean, surviving their first year is essentially a statistical miracle.
Oh, absolutely. The odds are completely against them.
And now they're reveling in all these brand new second-year freedoms.
Yeah.
The ban on fraternization is officially lifted, no more chore duty, and they finally have access to the local village, Shantara.
The mood among the general cadet population is just electric. It is this massive collective release of tension.
But, the narrative forces us to contrast that joy with our protagonist, Lilith Sorrengail. She is sitting with her squad, Rhiannon, Redoc, Nadine, Sawyer, Quinn, and Imogen.
Just trading jokes, knocking back drinks, acting like typical cadets.
Yeah, but Violet is internally drowning. She's carrying this massive, crushing guilt over the battle where they lost Liam and Soleil.
And the only ones helping her process this immense grief are her dragons, Taryn and Andarna.
Right, and they're counseling her telepathically inside her own mind while she's sitting in a crowded room. She is completely isolated.
It's a huge burden. She's holding on to the horrifying truth about the Benin, those dark magic wielders they fought.
And the even darker reality that the Navarre leadership is actively covering up their existence. I mean, she can't tell her friends because sharing that information instantly makes them targets of the state.
It creates such a fascinating social dynamic. Like, if she tells the truth, she puts her closest allies in mortal danger.
But if she lies, she betrays the deep trust that literally kept them alive through their first year.
Exactly. And someone in the squad has to ask about what happened at the battle eventually. The tension is unavoidable.
And Nadine is the one who finally brings it up. She asks the inevitable question. But before Violet is forced to either lie or commit treason, Imogen steps in.
Imogen is so clutch in this scene.
She really is. She just bluntly states that without Violet and Satan, they all would have died. She completely commandeers the narrative.
She gives all the tactical credit to Violet and immediately pivots the energy by leading a toast to the fallen Liam.
Which is just incredible. How do you see Imogen's intervention there?
Well, we really have to view it as a tactical military maneuver, just executed in a social setting. I mean, think about Imogen's background.
Right. She grew up as one of the marked kids.
Exactly, a child of the rebellion leaders, marked by the state. She has spent her entire life surviving in a profoundly hostile environment by understanding how to manipulate social currents.
So by taking control of the conversation, she's essentially building a defensive perimeter around Violet.
That's a great way to put it. She shields her from the interrogation, preventing Violet from having to explicitly lie to her best friends.
But she also simultaneously cements a bond among the survivors. It just proves that survival in the writer's quadrant relies just as much on, social maneuvering as it does on physical combat.
Battlefield tactics applied to a tavern conversation.
Wow, yeah. But of course, the illusion of safety never lasts long at Basgiath. Just as we sort of settle into the rhythm of this celebration, the narrative hits us with a massive institutional threat.
Oh, this brings us to the epigraph at the top of Chapter 5.
I love dissecting these because they always hide the real mechanics of the Navarre military. So this one is a missive from Lieutenant Colonel de Gruncy to General Melgren.
And it explicitly states why Major Burton Varrish is being reassigned from the Samara outpost to Basgiath.
Right, and this is the crazy part. He killed 3 prisoners during interrogation. Not in combat. During interrogation.
3 consecutive deaths.
So he gets reassigned as a quote-unquote disciplinary notice. He's brought in as the new vice commandant, answering only to Commandant Panchek, supposedly to tighten the ship.
The introduction of Varrish completely shifts the danger. It moves from the shadows directly into the chain of command.
But I have to push back on the logic of this military structure for a second.
Oh, how so?
Well, this guy murders his prisoners because he can't control his sadistic impulses during an interrogation. So High Command sends him to a college filled with thousands of untrained, vulnerable cadets.
It does seem counterintuitive.
Right. Is getting reassigned to Basgiath just the default demotion for officers who become liabilities?
It's a highly logical assumption from our real-world perspective,
Yeah.
sure. But within the lore of Navarre, Basgiath is not a penalty box.
Okay, so it's not a demotion.
No, a posting at the college is often a strategic placement based on the specific needs of both the military and the officer. Consider Violet's mother, Lilith Sorrengail.
Oh, okay, that is a really great example. She was a frontline writer who transferred to a desk job at the college.
Right, and the fan timelines point out the sheer practicality of Lilith's reassignment years ago. She had 3 young children, and her husband suffered from severe heart problems.
Ah, right. He needed a stationary, low-stress environment, which he found working in the Basgiath archives.
Exactly. The military allowed the entire family to follow her assignment. So in her case, Basgiath was the perfect logistical solution for her family's needs, not a punishment for poor performance.
That makes total sense. She wasn't being benched, she was being accommodated so they could keep a powerful asset in play. And she still reached the rank of general despite being stationed at a school.
Precisely. You have to remember, the attrition rate in Navarre's military is so staggering that promotions happen at breakneck speed.
Yeah, we know from her older brother Brennan's timeline that he reached the rank of lieutenant colonel in just 6 years.
Which is incredibly fast.
It only happens when the people above you are constantly dying, so the ladder is literally always open.
Which means a reassignment to Basgiath is a lateral move. In Major Varrish's case, leadership is using a technical disciplinary notice to keep a highly effective, albeit sadistic, asset active.
Oh, wow. So they are taking a man who excels at breaking human beings and putting him in charge of breaking cadets.
That's exactly what they're doing.
They essentially got rid of one problem, Colonel Aetos, who, orchestrated the deadly war games, just to replace him with an infinitely more dangerous problem.
And speaking of Daddy Aetos, he isn't quite done with them yet.
No, he is not. Before he leaves for his new coastal assignment, he makes a point to approach Violet and Xaden in the middle of this celebration to just drop a bureaucratic bomb.
He presents sealed orders sending Xaden to the front lines at the Samara outpost.
Which, chillingly, is exactly where Varrish just transferred from.
Yes. But the real weapon in those orders is the scheduling restriction.
Oh my gosh, yes. Aetos dictates that Violet is granted leave for exactly 2 days every fortnight, so 2 days out of every 14, specifically so she can fly to wherever Layden's dragon, Steely, is located.
It's so meticulously calculated.
It really is. I read this and immediately thought of, like, a malicious family court judge.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
It's like a judge issuing a joint custody schedule mathematically designed to cause maximum logistical, physical, and emotional distress to the parents. It is just breathtakingly petty.
It goes far beyond petty, though. It is biologically dangerous. This schedule directly threatens the dragon's mating bond.
Right. Tern, Violet's massive Morningstar-tailed dragon, and Siglail, Xaden's blue daggertail. They cannot tolerate being apart for extended periods.
The pain they experience isn't just emotional longing. It is a physical, biological instability.
We really have to look at the mechanics of dragon magic here. These are 2 of the most powerful dragons on the continent. They channel an immense amount of raw magic, and their mating bond acts as a necessary grounding wire between them.
Exactly. When you separate them for 12 days at a time, that magic becomes incredibly volatile.
Tern is so enraged by the biological threat of these orders that he literally roars in protest right there in the courtyard.
High Command is trying to legislate the biological imperatives of apex predators using paperwork. It's madness.
Which forces us to ask, why construct the orders with this specific mathematical precision? The timeline doesn't just inconvenience them, it pushes the dragons to the absolute limit of their physical tolerance without actually killing them.
It's a very fine line they are walking.
I was actually reading through some fan analyses on Reddit, and they pointed out an incredibly twisted loophole in these orders.
Oh, what do they find?
The mandate is that the dragons must see each other to survive the mating bond, but Violet and Xadanen, they don't strictly have to see each other. Human bodies don't require physical proximity to survive.
Oh, wow. That is the insidious brilliance of the strategy.
Right.
Major Varrish just came from Samara. He undoubtedly still has significant influence and loyalists stationed there. He is weaponizing the dragon's biological needs to dictate Violet's physical location every 2 weeks.
He ensures the dragons get the bare minimum time they need so the military doesn't lose its two strongest assets.
But because Varrish can pull strings at Samara, he can just ensure Aetos is conveniently scheduled for, 24-hour patrol duty, the exact weekend Violet is legally permitted to visit.
Exactly. He can manage their relationship from hundreds of miles away. Even when he isn't in the room, Varrish is proving his absolute dominance over their lives.
Xaden's response to this manipulation is incredibly telling, though.
Oh, I loved his response.
He stares down Colonel Aetos and simply states, "Dragons give their own orders."
It completely encapsulates the central conflict of the entire series. It's human military bureaucracy attempting to cage ancient autonomous magic.
The humans genuinely believe they hold the power because they write the missives and set the schedules.
But the dragons operate on an entirely different primal law. The human hubris is astounding, and it is just a recipe for a massive structural collapse.
But before Xaden leaves for the flight field, Colonel Aetos drops a parting threat that really sets the thematic tone for the rest of the book.
He looks directly at them and says, "Secrets make for poor leverage. They die with the people who keep them."
It is not a metaphor. It is a literal promise of violence.
And we see the immediate fallout of that threat in the very next scene. Garrick, Xaden's second-in-command, essentially orders Xaden to go fix the palpable tension with Violet before they separate.
Yeah, so they end up having this incredibly tense, tipsy conversation near the doors of the celebration.
Violet establishes a non-negotiable boundary. She absolutely refuses to sleep with a man she doesn't fully trust. She demands complete disclosure about the rebellion, the venin, the smuggling routes, literally everything.
And Skaden's reaction is fascinating here. He doesn't apologize.
No, he doesn't at all.
He pushes back aggressively. He frames her demand for honesty as her putting up unnecessary, quote-unquote, boundaries.
He claims he's picking a fight for her own benefit, maintaining that his absolute secrecy is a protective measure.
Which is a tough pill to swallow.
I really have to challenge this dynamic because it's wildly frustrating to read. We have to ask, is Aiden actually withholding all this vital information because it's a tactical necessity to protect Violet and the rebellion?
Or is he using something else?
Yeah, or is he using the concept of protection as a convenient excuse to maintain a manipulative, asymmetrical power dynamic in their relationship? It feels a lot like that classic toxic trope of, I know what is best for you, so I am going to keep you in the dark for your own good.
Your frustration is completely justified. It really is. And it's the emotional core of their conflict. But if we analyze their dynamic purely through the lens of Navarre's magical world building, we uncover a tragic paradox.
Okay, break that down for us.
Violet has spent her entire life being gaslit by her mother, her friends, and her government. For her to feel emotionally safe, she requires absolute, unfiltered honesty. She needs to know what is real.
Which is a completely rational psychological need after what she just survived.
Absolutely. However, Xaden is operating under the constraints of General Melgren's signet.
Yeah.
Melgren can see the outcome of any battle before it happens. He possesses strategic foresight.
Right. And I always think of the rebellion relics like a localized radar jammer or like a magical VPN.
A magical VPN, I love that.
When 3 or more marked children are in the same room, their relics scramble Melgren's foresight. They create a digital blind spot in his visions. That is the only reason the rebellion has managed to survive and smuggle weapons undetected.
That is the perfect analogy. And Violet does not have a rebellion relic. She has no radar jammer.
Oh, wow. She is completely visible to Melgren.
She is a walking liability for the entire revolution. If Xaden gives her the absolute honesty she requires for her emotional safety, she possesses the full operational blueprint of the rebellion.
And if Melgren catches even a glimpse of Violet in a vision?
Alone and without the cloaking of the marked ones, the entire network is exposed. The revolution fails, and hundreds of people die.
When you break down the mechanics like that, it transforms from a toxic relationship trope into just an impossible tactical nightmare.
It really
The
does.
Satan cannot give her the emotional security she needs without destroying the operational security required to keep her physically alive.
It fractures their trust at the exact moment they need a unified front, which brings the terrifying reality of Colonel Aetos's parting words into sharp focus. Secrets die with the people who keep them.
Aetos knows she holds the secret of the Venan cover-up. He is telling her, right to her face, that the Navarre government will simply assassinate her to ensure that secret stays buried.
Violet isn't just fighting for her life in a classroom anymore. She is the target of a state-sponsored hit.
The transition is complete. The true monsters are no longer the mythical beasts beyond the border walls. The monsters are operating within the safety of the college itself.
Exactly.
So what does a deep dive into this specific chapter mean for you, the listener? It serves as a stark, unsettling reminder about the nature of power.
The most dangerous enemies on a battlefield are rarely the towering, fire-breathing threats that you can see coming.
Often the most lethal threats are the quiet bureaucrats. The men in clean uniforms holding the pens, writing the complex schedules, and using administrative red tape to slowly, systematically suffocate you.
It's the realization that systemic institutional control can be far deadlier than a physical blade because it strips you of your autonomy before you even realize you're bleeding.
Bureaucracy is the most efficient weapon Navarre has, and Major Varrish has just been handed the keys to the armory.
Which leaves us with a genuinely terrifying thought to mull over.
Yeah, we established that Major Varrish was removed from his post because he has a documented history of killing prisoners by pushing them too far during interrogations.
He literally breaks people until they die.
Now consider this specific cadet he is walking into Basgiath to oversee. Lilith Sorrengail just manifested arguably the most destructive, volatile, and unpredictable signet seen in a generation.
Raw lightning.
Raw lightning. She is essentially a walking electrical bomb who barely knows how to control her own fuse.
So if Varrish's entire psychological profile is built around applying immense, agonizing pressure to extract secrets,
what happens when a master torturer applies that exact same pressure to a girl whose magic responds to high emotional stress with catastrophic explosions?
he isn't just interrogating a cadet, he is playing with a detonator.
And the blast radius is going to take out everyone inside the walls. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. Until next time, question the paperwork, and always watch out for the ones holding the pens.